All right, so this video is going to talk about how to divide two polynomials together, specifically when they're given to you in function notation. So over here we have our instructions that tells us to find f divided by g of x. All that means is it says to take f of x and divide it by g of x. So that's going to look something like this. You take f of x, which is 24x to the 6th, minus 12x to the 5th, plus 30x to the 4th, plus 36x. That's a long one there. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide this by g of x. And g of x is negative 6x squared. So this is all we're asked to do here. F of x divided by g of x. So now we need to divide away. So remember when it comes to dividing. So this is taking a polynomial and dividing it by a monomial. Now when it comes to doing this, we do need to remember our quotient rule. The quotient rule is what we use when we are dividing variables like this that have exponents on them. All right, so we do need to keep this quotient rule in mind. That tells us to subtract our exponents, the top minus the bottom. But before we even get there, let's split our division problem up. Instead of looking at this as one big division problem, sometimes it's easier to break up our division. So what we can do here is we can take everything in our numerator and put it over the same denominator. So it would look something like this. Take 24x to the 6th and divide it by negative 6x squared. Take negative 12x to the 5th and divide it by negative 6x squared. Take 30x to the 4th, and essentially here we're just taking every single thing that we have in our numerator and we are dividing it by the same denominator. All right, so we have 4 terms in our numerator, so we have 4 different little divisions here. Otherwise, divide the problem here, divide your number by your number, your variable by your variable using the quotient rule. So 24 divided by negative 6, that gives us a negative 4. And x to the 6th divided by x squared, 6 minus 2 leaves us with x to the 4th. Next one, a negative over negative is going to give us a positive, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. Otherwise, x to the 5th divided by x squared. Quotient rule says to take 5 minus 2, which gives us a 3, so x cubed. A positive over negative, so different signs is negative. 30 divided by 6 is 5. And over here, using quotient rule again for our variables, 4 minus 2 gives us 2. Last one, positive divided by negative is a negative. 36 divided by 6 is 6. And over here, quotient rule, 1 minus 2. So 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. All right, so we are almost done with this. We typically would be done with this except for the fact that for this one over here, we were left with this negative 1 as part of our answer. If we have a negative still in our problem, it is not considered fully simplified. So what we need to do is we need to remember the negative exponent rule. And the negative exponent rule says this. It says anytime you have something raised to the negative power, you take 1 over that same base, but to the positive power. So what that actually looks like here, so I'm just going to rewrite the problem. And we are going to focus on how do we write this last one here. Do keep in mind that that negative only goes to the x, does not go to the 6. So this negative 6 right over here, this is fine. It is the x to the negative 1 that we need to move. And what this tells us to do is it tells us to take that and bring it down to the denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to now make this a fraction, and we're going to put that x down at the bottom. All right, that's what it tells us to do. Instead of going up here, we're going to put it down at the bottom in the denominator, and we're going to make it positive. So that negative 1 is now a positive 1. So this right over here, this is what our solution would look like. All we did was kick that x down to the denominator, and that was solely using the negative exponent rule there. So that's how you divide a polynomial by a monomial in function notation.